Everybody has the shadow within them with this element of darkness. And one of the greatest gifts we can offer others in dealing with their kind of these shadow parts is recognizing and honoring that I also have these dark parts within me. And everybody, even the worst of the worst, deserving and is worthy of a safe place where they can be totally honest, totally authentic.
Hey, podcast land. Welcome back to the Recovered Dad podcast. I am one of your hosts. You know, it always kind of like co-host, like I'm a host, you're a host. I realize we're co-hosts together, but whenever I'm your co-host, it's like,
I know.
I'm your host. This is my co-host. Yep. And sometimes you introduce it like you're the host and I'm the co-host. Anyway, Matt and I are both hosting this podcast together. Yep. We are here behind the microphone in front of the video camera, dropping bombs, telling stories, riffing on recovery, about recovering from every dad's battle, right? Every dad's struggle with recovering from addiction, how it interacts with us as fathers, so that we and really building ourselves up, going through the recovery process, building recovery habits so that we can show up for our family with peace and power, strength and stability.
Yes, sir.
Etc. So, Matt, I know you got something good for us today. Lay it on me, brother. Where are we going? Where are we going today?
You got it, brother. Well, it's good to be here today. Thanks for joining your contribution here today, Yaden, and thank you, men, for being here with us today. Today, we're going to talk about we're going to do a deeper dive on a topic that we touch on very frequently here inside the Recovered Dad community and the Recovered Dad podcast, and that's this conversation of emotional safety. Emotional safety, creating emotional safety in recovery. And from the front end, it might say, "Oh, man, that's not a very sexy, for lack of a better term, topic," or it's like, I don't know, I want something juicy. Give me the tactical and the practical. But I got to say, this is very practical, very practical. And I would say creating emotional safety is a foundational requirement for doing this work. I would even venture to say if emotional safety is not present, I would question like the degree to which true recovery can be had, frankly. Right? So I want to cover just some fundamentals of emotional safety, of emotional safety and recovery. And so I want to cover like what is safety? Like, what does that even mean? Is that some
You beat me to the punch with that question. I'm saying, like what do you mean, Matt?
Feminine, what is this? What are we doing here? What is safety, right? Yeah. Why does safety matter? And how to create it? How to create it in recovery, okay? So I'm gonna flow a little bit in this, and I'm definitely gonna invite you here, Yaden, to speak to your experience of the safety conversation, right? So here's my, like, as we like define the term, right? This is kind of like the outside of this conversation, defining the term. What is safety, or what is emotional safety? I have safety, or emotional safety is the cultivation or the presence of a shame-free environment where we can bear all without the fear of being judged or experiencing loss or being punished, right? Or the ability, at least, in some phase of our recovery, to be real, to be honest without the fear of consequence.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if we're going to be real, there may be some consequence, as a result of our, habit. Right. But I think in the healing part, it's like, I got to be able to go to the doctor's office and have a real conversation. You know what I mean? I got to be able to go to the therapist's office and have a real conversation. There's got to be some place that I can be real without the fear of consequence. Right. Yeah. Safety is having a place where we can be witnessed without fear of reciprocation, abandonment, loss, right? And allowing ourselves or allowing others to full permission to bear all and to be totally themselves, so they can let their guard down, right? And be honest and undergo in the recovery process.
Yeah. Something that just like resonated with me as you're talking about finding an emotionally safe space is the analogy of talking to your doctor, right? Like if you can't tell your doctor what's really going on with you physically, they're not going to be able to help you.
Right.
I also think about when I started therapy back in the day for my anger issues.
Yeah.
It was a safe space for me to talk about my anger issues, but I didn't feel it was safe because I'd been programmed my whole life that it was so toxic and so evil and so shameful. I did not feel freedom to even mention. Therapist was like, "What about?" I'm like, oh, "Good, fine, no problem there." I'm like, no, like I'm not talking about that with you, bro. Even though I went to the therapist for years, and he would have been a 100% safe space, but I wasn't ready, to engage with a safe space yet.
Yeah. Yep. So we might look at like, what was our experience maybe early on? Like, I don't know, man, but like, was the church environment, and again, not to throw shade at the church environment, right? Because, honor everybody's path. For me, like, I don't know if like growing up in the church, if that was really a safe environment to have these conversations. Like, it was like, yeah, go ahead and tell me, but is there going to be a negative consequence at the back end of this? You know what I mean? Or shame or judgment, right?
Yeah.
So, maybe safety can be at stake, even if it's not, I got in trouble, but is there judgment present? Is there judgment present? Is there gossip present? So
I have a special prayer request for Matt. He's dealing with some lust.
Exactly.
Let's all pray for Matt. Like,
oh God, how embarrassing, right? But hey, everybody's trying in those environments. But I think having this prerequisite of having a safe environment in which to do the work is critical. If I'm going to the doctor and I can't disclose that I'm a smoker, right, because I'm afraid of what the insurance consequence might be, but I've got this bad cough going on, you know what I mean? Like I don't really feel safe to be honest about this, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever's going on. So critical piece of the puzzle. Or as you mentioned, I got this real problem, but I don't feel safe talking to the therapist about it, right? And especially when we're dealing with because sex stuff has a special taboo. Sex stuff has a special taboo, and I'm afraid of the consequence. I'm afraid of the judgment. I'm afraid of maybe how I'll be perceived, right? So that leads me to my next point. So why does emotional safety matter? Well, I'll start with our primary concept, our primary idea that we bring up here over and over again. If you're a regular listener of the show, it's because the shame that is so often associated with sexuality and with consumption, it actually dies when stories are told in safe spaces, safe places, right? It's critical. It's critical that we have a safe place. And I, in my clerical training, my work within the Buddhist faith tradition, where I've been trained in mindfulness counseling and spiritual counseling, pastoral care. My teacher we've done a lot of work around the concept of the shadow and recognizing that everybody has the shadow within them with this element of darkness. And one of the greatest gifts we can offer others in dealing with their these shadow parts, right, is like recognizing and honoring that I also have these dark parts within me. And everybody, even the worst of the worst, I'm throwing air quotes up here for those that are just listening, even the worst of the worst needs and is deserving and is worthy of, and is, I would even say, entitled to a safe place where they can be totally honest, totally authentic, bear it all, because if not, how are they really going to heal? So everybody, because I recognize I've got it all, I've got it in me, right? That helps me give it to you. give that safety to you is and like enter this conversation with a place of non-judgment and compassion, a shame-free environment, because everybody needs it. It's a requirement and it's a prerequisite for doing this work, because hides in the shadows, right? It's like it lives alongside shame, right? It festers in the shadows.
Matt, when you're talking about like this emotional safety, finding emotional safety for us as finding this emotionally safe space.
Yeah.
And I think about the power imbalance with the dad, with me and my children.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
It's like, it is not up to, and I just want to make this analogy, right? Since the recovered dad is right. Fathers out there, your children cannot create this emotional safe space.
Yes.
They can't. There's too big of a power imbalance.
Yeah.
Right? There's too much risk on their end. Because think about it. For the first several years of a child's life, they are 100% dependent on their parents to survive.
Yes.
That's hardwired in. Relationship with our parents is hardwired for survival.
Absolutely.
And kids are not going to do anything. They're going to protect that relationship, whether it's lying. Kids lie to protect their relationship. Like, it's like, you can't handle the truth. That's what's going on in our kid's head.
Right.
When I just want to know the truth. And you're like, Dad, you can't handle the truth. If I told you the truth, you would hate me.
Yep.
And I cannot risk my relationship with you over you freaking out.
Yep.
So for fathers out there, it is our responsibility to go first.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not talking about emotionally trauma dumping on our kids. Like, oh, hey, 10-year-old, just so you know, here's my laundry list of addictions,
sin,
and trauma that I'm dealing with. Here's all the bullshit in my life. You're welcome.
Right.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like being authentic, being transparent. Like, yeah, I have my own issues that I'm working on, some of which, and you can share age appropriate stuff.
Yep.
Right. All my kids know that I'm in recovery for. And just knowing that. Adds to the emotionally safe element. You're like, oh, my dad knows what it is to struggle with addiction. Absolutely. My dad knows what it is to be in recovery.
Absolutely.
I can bring this to him and he's not going to freak out.
Yep.
Or maybe not as much.
Yep. It reminds me of the work that we dig in on within the Noble Council and Brené Brown. And I've got, as a leader, right? So as a leader, whether it's in recovery or as a parent, I get to lead with authenticity first, because that's actually what creates the safe space.
Yes.
That's it. I've been imperfect in my journey, in my recovery journey, right? But if nothing else, what I have always worked to exercise and practice is, can I at least be authentic? Can I at least be real? Because if I'm saying to the community, hey, I want this to be a safe space where you can bring anything. If I'm not willing to do that, that's going to be transmitted in some way, spoken or unspoken, right? So the leader gets to lead. And I love what you spoke to there, Yaden, about the parent-child kind of power dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's a fundamental idea that I was given in my pastoral chaplaincy training. So whenever I go into a hospital bed, right, there's an immediate power dynamic at play between the patient lying down prone in the bed, right, sick, oftentimes can't move or weak, whatever's going on, and then the doctor or the medical team kind of standing over them. There's a power dynamic at play. And so one of the things that we're taught to do as chaplains is, when we go into the room, ask permission to have a seat, sit in a chair, get eye level with them, so we're not looming over them, so we can kind of even out that power dynamic.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
That's an element of safety, right? It's an element of safety. So good points there, Yaden. And so a key critical piece of this healing recovery journey is being witnessed, being seen, being visible, in order to feel safe enough to be honest, authentic, visible. One, I think the people we're in community with, the leaders, we need to see that they are also willing to bear it all, to be authentic, to be vulnerable, to be visible, right? And it's critical that we have a safe space, because if not, we won't be willing to bear these aspects of ourselves, to be seen, to allow ourselves to be seen, to be witnessed, for the sunlight to hit these different pieces of ourselves. Yeah. So like the safety of the container is critical. Like, men, if you choose to join us, those that are listening inside the Recovered Dad community, a fundamental, like one of the main emphasis that we place on our community is like, is it a safe container? Because you got to be able to come in and talk about some of these aspects of yourself that maybe you've never talked to anybody about.
Yeah.
And that means, man, I got to be able to say this and know that I'm not being judged here, or I'm not going to experience a negative consequence, right? So in order to be vulnerable, we need to have a safe environment, right? So that's why I say I think it's a prerequisite for this work. Okay, so kind of getting to some of that practical, how do we actually create safety? And we touched on some of this already, right? I would suggest that we can only offer as much safety as we are safe ourselves, right? The level of safety. So how authentic and honest am I willing to be with myself, right? How honest and authentic am I willing to be with others? How honest and authentic am I willing to be in my own recovery journey? Yaden, you often speak to like the way that we parent ourselves reflects or transmits, right? Translates the way we parent our children. So the level of safety we're able to create within ourselves translates to the level of safety that we're able to translate or provide to our kids, to our wife, our husband, our partner, even business partners. If I need to bring something difficult to the business relationship, I got to know that I can bring it, and it's not without fear of consequence or backlash, I might say, right? Or especially with those people that we're in recovery relationships with, right? We can only offer as much safety as we are safe with ourselves.
You're right on the money, bro. Right on the money.
So I think about what are some of the key characteristics or qualities that help to actually create a safe environment, right?
Practical and tactical. Let's get to it.
Right. So creating an environment, we've kind of touched on these, of non-judgment, right? People can tell when they're being judged. People can sense when the presence of judgment or non-judgment. One of the tenets, one of the ideas that I've been given, again, in my work as a mindfulness practitioner, is entering the room from a space of not knowing and bearing witness. That means I'm going to drop my story at the door. I don't know anything about this person. I'm going to drop my story and my narrative, and I'm going to do my best to drop my biases and my frame at the door. Maybe not my frame, but I'm going to do my best to drop my biases at the door and my story about who this person may or may not be. So that way, whenever I'm listening to them, I can truly listen to them from a place of, I don't know what's going on with your life. And matter of fact, if I would have grown up in your shoes, I'd probably be exactly where you are right now. Or when I'm working with a brother here inside the community, if I was raised like this brother in his shoes, in his environment, with his genetics and all the different, things that contribute to who we grow to be, I would be just like you, my brother, right? So whenever I do that, whenever I enter the conversation of recovery from a place of non-judgment and not knowing, and I'm just going to bear witness, it translates and it creates that safe environment for recovery. The compassion piece of the puzzle says, I kind of spoke to this as well. To me, compassion speaks to the idea of, I recognize that which is in you is also in me. That's how I look at compassion, right? I recognize I see you hurting, and the connection between us can be that I see you hurting, and I recognize that I also don't want to hurt. I see the darkness in me, therefore I can like love and care for the darkness in you, right? I can create the space for you because that which is in you is also in me. Like learning to see ourselves in other. When we do yoga, right? We go to yoga and we say namaste. We say that which the light in me honors the light in you. And I could also say the darkness in me honors the darkness in you. To me, that's what compassion is about.
here's one of the best ways that I like to think about compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Think about when you're driving, right? When you're driving, you're a little bit late, right? Something's going on. You're stressed out, right? Maybe you're driving a little bit faster than normal, right? Maybe you're going a little bit faster through the neighborhood than you otherwise would. You pass a car, I give myself, everybody does. We all give ourselves so much grace when we're driving like an idiot.
Right.
Because I have to be here, right? Like this is important.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we accidentally cut somebody off. We're like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, this was my exit. I had to cut you off. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, I didn't have a choice, right? But then when we are on the receiving end.
That's it, bro.
Right? It's like, bro, ain't no compassion at all.
Yeah, exactly. We're
like, man, don't nobody know how to drive anymore.
Yep.
Right? And I have to remind myself, it's like, you know what? I am going to, and obviously, right? Dads out there, don't lie to yourself. Don't pretend that you're the most compassionate human on the planet when you're driving, because I know that ain't true. But we can choose what story to tell ourselves. Like just yesterday, I was on my way to go lifting. My neighborhood's kind of a cut-through neighborhood for two main roads. And as you're coming out of my little side street, cars come down the road. It's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Ain't nobody going 25 miles an hour. Yeah. I have a big old truck. Honestly, right? It's like, wouldn't hurt my feelings to have another dent, not going to hurt my feelings. This car obviously going more than 25 miles an hour coming down here. And I was like, I just kind of stick my nose out just a little bit past the stop sign. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm just going to make this car, move a little bit. Vroom, blow up, probably going 40 miles an hour. And surprise, surprise, I caught up to them at the traffic light.
Right.
On the other, that they were going. So like, they didn't get there any faster.
Right.
And I was so tempted. I did roll down my passenger window and I was blasting my music pretty loud. And I thought to myself, I'm going to yell at this person. Like, hey, this is my neighborhood. Drive slower. And I thought, you know what? The only thing that's going to do is ruin everybody's day.
Yep. It's
going to ruin her day, just like it's going to ruin my day, because she'll defend herself. Like, who are you, the cops, right? Blah, 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 blah. We'll all get all emotionally bent out of shape. And then we'll just, the rest of it, like, you know what? Nobody got hurt. I got irritated because this happens a lot in my neighborhood, but that's just life. I let it go. Like, have compassion on her the same way I have compassion on me. When I'm running a little, I should have left 3 minutes ago, but I didn't. So now I got to cut a few corners to get to where I'm going on time.
Exactly.
Anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to derail with that. But driving is the place where we have so much compassion on ourselves and zero compassion on everybody else.
We can practice it there. It's like putting ourselves in
that is a great place to practice it.
It's like wisdom, man. It's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I was a dick in traffic yesterday myself. You know what I mean? Or I was the one speeding or riding this guy's butt. You know what I mean? So that's a fundamental key, and that's also something that connects us all. Recognizing that which is in you is also in me, and vice versa, right? Right, and so I'm going to give you just a couple more. Each one of these we could dig in on. But I'll just kind of run through a couple. Listening more than speaking to create a safe environment, right? Someone shares that. So we practice this in the Recover Dad community. We practice this in the Bridge Men's Society, right? Someone shares and dumps their heart open and just lays it all, right? And I notice like an error, I'll say, that some people make, or it's kind of a lack of skillfulness, is to go right into fix-it mode, or right into talking about them, or right into right? Listening more than speaking. I find some of the safest spaces I can be in, or some of the best conversations I've had, are those in which I'm just listened to. I'm not given advice. Someone doesn't go into correcting. Someone doesn't go into fixing. Someone doesn't go into a story about them. I feel like I'm actually heard, right? I feel like I'm actually heard. I feel like I'm actually seen, right?
I'm chuckling only because in light of porn addiction and recovery, it's like, how many times you had the conversation, like, man, I'm really struggling with the grip of
yeah.
have you tried just not?
Right.
I'm like, bro, shut up. I just wanted to be seen and heard that this is difficult.
That's it, man. That's it.
This is a fight, and I'm in it.
That's it. That's the start of creating a safe space, is just shh. I often tell people, like, when you're in a conversation and you notice that you're wanting to talk more than you're wanting to listen, right? Or you're listening to respond versus like listening to, to create space, just gently bite your tongue on the inside of your mouth and just say, oh, a little signal to yourself, I'm going to listen more than I'm going to talk right now. I've experienced it on both ends. So listening more than speaking helps to facilitate a safe environment. Asking permission to give feedback. One thing that we practice here in the Recovered Dad community, practice in the Bridge Men's Society is, man, before I do anything, first of all, I want to just validate. Like, someone dumps their heart and they spill this vulnerable, tender piece of themselves. The last thing I want to do is just go right into fix it or advice giving. First thing I want to do is, man, like, I hear you, brother. Like, that sounds really difficult. I can't even relate to that, or maybe I can relate to that, or I can't imagine how difficult. Like, you're seen, you're heard. Maybe there's no advice. Sometimes the best thing we can do is give no advice. Just let people know that they're seen and heard, right? So, and if we're going to give feedback, like, first we want to validate, and then we say, hey, I've got a couple ideas. Are you open to it right now? Yeah. And it might be a no, and that's cool too. Like, you know what? I'm not really feeling receptive. I think that's so important. I think that's going into fix it mode can be a really quick way to violate or to hurt a safe environment, right? And then maybe asking them, man, like, here's what I heard. Like, how do you want to be supported today? Like, what do you want? What do you need? What are you open to? And again, maybe it's nothing, right? Yeah. And again, just to kind of reiterate and wrap this up, I think one of the best ways, one of the greatest ways, one of the simplest ways that we can create a safe environment is just doing nothing. It's just simply bearing witness, maybe validating, maybe relating, maybe emphasizing a little bit, maybe offering support if they're open to it. But if nothing else, just bearing witness. Say, hey, you're seen, brother. You're seen here, right? And just allows people to soften and be like, okay. It's like going to confession. I often say, like, I think bringing that confession language into the conversation, because, like, with confession oftentimes comes the shame and the sin and some of that conditioning, which maybe some of us have struggled with or associate with maybe early religious experiences. But I do think there is a practical, there is a practical value in the act of confession. Just like, I just need to unload this. I need to let me lay this at your feet. And maybe there's nothing I really need other than just to do that, and that's often one of the greatest gifts we can give others. So a couple foundations for how we can help create safety for others within the recovery journey.
Oh man, Matt, dropping bombs, dropping mics, finding emotional safety for ourselves as fathers so that we can unpack those issues that we face, creating emotional safety for our families so that our children, our wives can unpack what they're going through. All of these, just thank you for sharing, brother. Thank you for this conversation. Yeah. Dudes, if you are out there listening and thinking like, okay, yeah, this is great, but is there like a workbook or something or anything I could download to like remember any of this stuff? Because I got, however many kids you got, it's a lot. Whether you have one kid or 12. Okay, 12 kids is more than one, but I always say, like, it doesn't matter how many kids you have. It feels like you have a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Men, if you're out there listening, head on over to therecovereddad.com. You can download our Father's Freedom Framework. It is the 4-rack formula, which is kind of like the cornerstone piece, the cornerstone skill set of building this internal recovery, building this emotional safety for our family. If you're looking for an emotionally safe space and you want to talk with us about what it looks like in the Liberation Bootcamp, hit us up. Shoot us an email. right? There's a contact form on the website. You can find me on Instagram, Recovered Dad. You can find Matt on Instagram, Matty26. You can find us on Facebook. Shoot us a message. Let's connect and talk about where you are, what the next steps look like for you, so that you can create this emotional safety for your family and live into recovery and show up for your family the way that you want to.
Yep. Amen.
Thanks for tuning in this week, Matt. Thanks for dropping bombs on us.
You got it.
The good kind.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
The emotional support bombs. And men, tune in next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. You remember that, Matt, right?
Batman.
Batman. No. Batman. Right, Batman. Men, peace and power. We'll see you next time.
Noble men. Thanks, guys.